How the hell do I even kick off this show? Like, I don't go, what's up, you guys, like I do on Fightful. I can't say that was another Common Bengals W because the Bengals did end on like four or five straight since I did this show, but they had two losses after I stopped doing the show, of which I will explain, by the way. But I am Sean Ross Sapp. This is Common Bengals W. Listen, man, I love nothing more than football, specifically Bengals football, and we're going to talk a little bit about it and why the hell I haven't been doing shows for the last couple of months. The long and short of it is life got in the way. Now, my last show that I did, if you're watching this, it might be on my X, it might be on the Common Bengals WX or our YouTube over at Common Bengals W. And I did this show a couple of years ago, started it as just a hobby, something that I wanted to do because, man, when I really love something like this, whether it be wrestling or MMA or sports, I just love to talk about it as well. I love to talk to an audience about it as well. So if you're here, chime in on the chats wherever you are. I don't do super chats and stuff like that over here, but leave a thumbs up, all that good stuff. But the where have I been? Well, wrestling fans know I ain't been anywhere. I've been around. I've been doing my job on the pro wrestling beat, but I had a great opportunity. DraftKings hit me up and they said, we would love for you to do a co-stream or a multi-stream to your channel and our channel and watch the Thursday night football game. Now, I had Bengals season tickets. I'll get into that momentarily. But this was a wonderful opportunity. Like a lot of people that had no idea who I was were going to be able to watch me do a Bengals watch-along game. They've got over 200,000 subscribers. That is more than what I have on the Fightful channel. The algorithm does not favor us in that sense. But like you took that opportunity. It was my most watched show that I've done on my channel. It did well for them. They're interested in having me back. But I didn't do a show after that. And I meant to and was hopeful to, but man, I was during that period not traveling hardly at all. I had taken about 6-7 months off of traveling for work. And then I had to hit, I think it was North Carolina. Then it was Dallas, then New York City. Then I've been to Vegas and Indianapolis. I have not had time to do a show. Had a loss in the family that definitely took precedence over what this was. And during that period, man, I was just so bummed out over that Ravens loss too. I was so frustrated by it. And even when they were on the road, I went to one of the games. I went to the Cowboys game, got to witness that in person. It was a blast. But I was so bummed out. Somebody says, turn sideways. It'll look like you're wearing the helmet. Denise bought me that. Basically, she got me a Fanatics gift card, and I got that. But I just didn't have the time, and I'm going to have a lot more time because I'll give you guys a little inside baseball here. Ad rates, subscriptions, all that kind of stuff. You know, not very rarely do they shoot up year over year in pro wrestling. So like when I go to my business partner, I'm not asking for a raise. I'm like, hey, can we delegate something else? Like, can these sponsored articles go to somebody else? Can all that, so I can free up a little bit more of my time because a lot of it's consumed by pro wrestling coverage. I also gave up my Bengals season tickets, of which I have had the last 2 seasons. Now, I had never been to many Bengals games before the pandemic and before the Super Bowl season. And when I started to earn a little bit more money in my day job, I started to go to a few more. And then I went to a game with these two gentlemen right here, Nick Hester and Jeff Hawkins. And I got to see the Bengals' first playoff win in 30 years. Well, I mean, that was special to me. That meant something to me, man. Like that was such a just integral moment for me. And I really grew to love it. But at the time I lived in a city called Ewing, Kentucky. that is as equally inconvenient to get to Lexington as it is to Cincinnati. I've since moved to Lexington, and that is a good 80, 90-minute drive there, and usually one back as well. So you're talking about 3 hours on the road at minimum. I had great seats this year. I can say this now. The area that I had a phantom seat there. It wasn't numbered. So we had an extra seat all year. It was phenomenal. But it's not some big like, oh, I'm taking a stand against the Bengals until they re-sign or they play better. I just like watching the games at home a lot more. I just really, really enjoy watching the games at home. Better view. I spend less money. It's more convenient. I can get on here and talk with you guys afterwards. And that's really what I want to do. As much as I enjoy listening to fellow Maysville native and Morehead State alum, Wayne Boxmiller, after those shows on the drive back, I like getting on here and talking with you guys about it. And that is a big chunk of change to be spending. And the more I have traveled to Lucas Oil Stadium, Ford Field, Cowboy Stadium, AT&T Stadium, I believe it is, all these other places, I realize how poorly Cincinnati Bengals fans are treated by the ownership. The facilities at like Allegiant and stuff like that. Like, I get it. We're not Las Vegas. We're not that. But damn, man, we got a concrete slab with the field in the middle of it. And I love this team, but that's what it is. I don't know the intricacies of it. The taxpayer-funded stadium, the ownership-funded. I don't give a shit, man. I just want a better stadium. Don't care how it affects me beyond that. I mean, if like the common sense approach is the ownership should be paying for it, and probably Hamilton County and Northern Kentucky counties should probably be chipping in as well. I don't know what does happen. Don't care. Just want a better stadium. That's it. I don't own the team, so I don't give a damn. But one thing that did sour me a little bit was the season ticket gift. And I put that in quotation marks right here. Oh, in fact, y'all want to see what it is? Here is our season ticket gift. 2 decals, buddy. That's it. 2 decals. Last year, it was a blanket. The year before that, it was an AFC championship ring. So the quality has declined. Israel says, would you be upset if the team moved? I would be beside myself if the team moved. If it moved to Louisville, Kentucky, Lexington, Kentucky, or Northern Kentucky, I would be completely fine with that. I don't want it to move any further from me than it needs to be. I don't even want them to move to Mason, Ohio. Absolutely not. So the last time you guys saw me on this show, I was watching the heartbreaking overtime loss Thursday Night Football to the Ravens. And like, if you've heard me talk about the Ravens, like I honestly, I can't hate the Ravens. I respect Lamar Jackson to such an incredible degree. It is forever mind-boggling to me that not only did every team pass on him in the draft one time, but when he was available for trade, they passed on him as well. He is one of the best quarterbacks I've seen play football. He is a winner. Derrick Henry, how can I dislike that guy? Roquan Smith is so good. Can't dislike them. Even elsewhere in the North, Mike Tomlin, phenomenal coach. Would love to have a Mike Tomlin as a coach. But we don't have that. We do have, however, new defensive coordinator. Needed to happen. Goodbye, Lou Anarumo. Hello, Al Golden. Al Golden, who was familiar with what helped make this team successful during the Super Bowl run. I'm all for that. Offensive line coach, we needed that. Whole bunch of other defensive coaches, we needed that. I'm not going to go into the intricacies of that because I am not qualified to, and I don't know what I'm talking about in that regard. But I'll tell you what I am qualified to speak on. The fact that at the end of the Bengals season, You have no Sam Hubbard, who injured himself on what might be his last play ever as a Bengal. I hope they bring him back and he is a depth piece at a much lower rate. But if he's not, thank you for your service. An incredible touchdown, by the way, offensive touchdown. Thank you, but you're not coming back next year at that rate. It's just not realistic. He was out. You had DJ Turner, who was out. Sheldon Rankins. I don't even know what happened to this man. Sheldon Rankins? What was he sick with? He ain't going to be back next year, by the way. You had Logan Wilson by the beginning of December was on injured reserve, and he played decent throughout the year. I want to say that. You had so many players that were out by the end of the year. You had Dax Hill, who was out. And the Bengals defense played exponentially better. And that's because Lou Anarumo would not move off of playing these old geezers. They were able to hold Pittsburgh to 17 points. It's Pittsburgh. Cleveland to 6. It's Cleveland. But the long and short of it is, once December 2nd rolled around, they were able to hold the opposition to less points than their offense scored. And we weren't seeing like 38-point games like we were seeing earlier in the year, right? Like the Bengals lost, they scored 38 and lost twice that year. And they didn't allow more than 27. And if that would have been the case earlier in the year, they could have beat Pittsburgh. They could have beat the Chargers. They could have beat Baltimore. Could have beat Washington. And the Bengals would have cruised into the playoffs. Eric All got hurt. That's unfortunate. That sucks. Evan McPherson got hurt. Well, that especially sucks because we had to deal with Cade York. Trent Brown was barely a blip on the radar. You had Cody Ford filling in everywhere. The Bengals refused to get that veteran corner that everybody screamed at. They traded their 7th for Khalil Herbert and barely played him. That was mind-boggling to me. I loved the Khalil Herbert trade. I was all for the Khalil Herbert trade. And he stepped in and he did a pretty good job. Averaged over 4 yards a carry. Had like a 53% success rate. By the end of the year, nobody was sitting there saying, oh, well, we just had to keep Joe Mixon. No, we didn't. He's off doing his thing and he's doing fine. And Chase Brown is a better fit for us. RB1 is set for the next 2 years. We're good. Tight end 1, that will be more of a question because Eric All is going to be hurt mainly all of 2025. That sucks. Mike Gesicki is a name that Joe Burrow keeps talking about bringing back. He's more of a slot receiver. I wouldn't mind seeing Tyler Boyd brought back as well as the wide receiver 3 because I have no confidence in Jermaine Burton, he's a monumental fuck up. That's it. Hopefully he gets the help that he needs from a mental perspective because it's evident that he needs some. But no thanks. Get me Tyler Boyd back as a wide receiver 3 at a discount in the slot or wide receiver 4. Somebody that knows the system, still has a little bit of juice in them. So tight end is a need. Tight end 2 is a need. RB2 is a need. I hope they bring back Khalil Herbert for that. But you want to talk about a need. Joe Burrow, after I stopped doing this show, claimed that Tee Higgins is a need. And I would agree. You see the performance when he is on the field. He had a Pro Bowl quality season and he missed a bunch of games. Now, I don't know if that's something that can be negotiated in. Like, T, listen, man, you miss a lot of time. maybe we can work something out here. But prior to that, I was like, well, he's very clearly leaving. Now I am in a position where I prefer Tee Higgins staying because I know what the Bengals can do on offense with him. You can plug and play a running back, a tight end, and in many instances, an offensive line, which it's not what I would like, but you can plug and play that if you've got Jamar and T on the field. Wide receiver 3 opens up a whole lot. Yoshi Voss ends up getting into the end zone. But if he goes, that is 20-some million that really helps alleviate things for sure. Unless Joe Burrow is willing to take less in order to keep Tee Higgins around. We know Jamar Chase is getting paid, and we know he's getting paid more than any wide receiver ever. He should have got that contract last year. The Bengals effectively cost themselves a starting cornerback by not paying Jamar Chase last year. They effectively cost themselves a starting safety, a pretty high-end starting safety, by not paying Tee Higgins 2 years ago. The Bengals are probably going to end up costing themselves an extra $15 to $20 million a year by not getting those deals done early. I mean, look at Joe Burrow right now. He's talking about restructuring, and that's great. But as of right now, Dak Prescott makes more money than Joe Burrow. Jordan Love makes the same amount as Joe Burrow. Jared Goff is like $2 million under Joe Burrow. Listen, bless Jared Goff, but give me that all day. Trevor Lawrence makes the same per year as Joe Burrow. Yeah. If you told me that we would get Joe Burrow for the same price as Jordan Love and Trevor Lawrence, hell yeah, sign me up. Sign me up. Now, I don't know whose deals come up imminently. I know that Sam Darnold's about to get like probably $35-40 million. All right, cool. If anybody can let me know whose deals are coming up that are about to get deals. So if T stays, I am ecstatic. If he does not stay, well, then in that instance, like, I am interested to see where else they pick things up. Trey Hendrickson's going to get an increase and an extension. And he says that he wants the Bengals to win a Super Bowl, whether it's with him or by what they trade him for. But Trey Hendrickson needs, you should be adding 2 years on a Trey Hendrickson's deal immediately. Get him in for 3 more years. Do some void years. Do some restructures. These are all things the Bengals are stuck in the Stone Age with. They don't do a lot of this stuff. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend how it works. I am going to learn everything I possibly can about the salary cap, structuring deals, void years, dead cap, all that shit throughout the next year. But they haven't traditionally done that. So I haven't needed to learn that stuff. This has been the most newsworthy Cincinnati Bengals offseason in ages, and nothing has happened. Nothing has happened. And I haven't even talked about the end of the season, where the Bengals win 5 straight, and then, of course, the Chiefs don't want them in the playoffs, and we saw what we saw. Coaching changes, phenomenal. Joe Burrow stepping up and saying, keep these guys, phenomenal. Here's how I feel. Jamar Chase is the best wide receiver in the NFL. I believe that. Tee Higgins, I believe, is a top 10 wide receiver in the NFL. Keep him. Orlando Brown Jr., I think, I feel as comfortable with him at left tackle with Joe Burrow as anybody right now. Keep him. Chase Brown, top half of running backs in the NFL. I'm good with that. Trey Hendrickson, the best man at sacking a quarterback in the NFL. Keep him. All the other stuff is what you figure out. You don't figure out, man, But if we sign T. Howell, no, you figure that stuff out. Those people are easier to replace. Your shitty right guard, Alex Kappa, is easier to replace than Tee Higgins is. Your terrible safety, who started to show up in the last month and a half of the season. Thanks for increasing your trade value, by the way. We greatly appreciate that, Gino. Don't worry about keeping him. You want to keep the guy that's special. You can draft somebody that does exactly what Geno Stone did last year. Year one. You can throw a 5th round draft pick out there that can do exactly what some of your corners did last year. You cannot draft somebody year one who can do what Tee Higgins or Trey Hendrickson did last year. Let's go through these chats. Eric All, the injury, that's such a bummer. Such a bummer. By the way, I'm going to be doing more of these shows throughout the offseason. And a whole lot more next year, since I'll be home for these games, man. And again, it's just I like being home, man. The more I got my day job because I was like, yeah, hell yeah, I get to work from home. Now I travel more than I ever have in my life, and I'm blessed to do it. But damn. Tim says, an audience, that's us. Hell yeah, it is. Thank you all. I get thousands of people watching. My boy, Nick Hester, longtime friend. Let me tell y'all a story about Nick Hester. Let me tell y'all a funny little story about Nick Hester. I fractured my ankle playing basketball. Or no, it was a different. Fractured it twice. But we were in our hometown. And there was a guy who I was not on good terms with. And he would duck me every time we were around. And I'm not an intimidating guy. But then he sees I'm on crutches. And he tries to tough talk me. And I'm like, all right. I'll get you later. And Nick actually picked me up. And he saw this was going down. And he drives up a little bit more from where he picked me up. And he's like, hey, hold on. Just 1 second. I'm like, all right. And he pulls over his car next to a Kmart, grabs one of my crutches, and chases the dude down the road. Jesus Christ. Man. Jeff says, all the guys are saying we want to play together. Joe needs them all in a room with agents to prove it. Mike Brown is Mike Brown, and you're not going to bully him if you're a star. Yep. And I don't know the difference in the Blackburns and Mike Byrne and how they feel about things. But the fact that Tee Higgins dumped his notoriously difficult agent and picked up Jamar's, yeah. Israel, great to see you here, man. W stream scenes. It says Inside Baseball. I thought we were talking football. Inside Baseball was one of my favorite. I think it was a show, magazine, something like that. Talk about the season ticket gift. I did, buddy. Look at this. Oh, how much y'all want to pay for this bad boy? Paycor is a dump compared to Burrowhead. The perks for season ticket holders my brother gets for the Chiefs are nice. Yeah, you probably get like a referee's social security number. Everyone at the combine, his year was very high on Jackson, Lamar Jackson. Yeah, I mean, like, he's special, man. There's nothing else I can say about it. He's so good. Joe said on ESPN what I've been saying. He wants to play the first quarter of every offseason game. Glad you brought this up, Israel. This is something that I've been big on. My first Bengals game was a preseason game when Terrell Owens joined the team. And I got to see Carson Palmer, Terrell Owens, and Chad Ochocinco play. Now, I didn't mind a lot of the preseason because I was like, oh, I'll get to see Jake Browning take some snaps. And then it didn't end up happening, which was a bummer. But I really enjoyed watching preseason this year because we saw Young Meta come along. And at this point, I think he should probably get some starting reps as a linebacker. Undrafted free agent, like, came in and proved himself. But Joe Burrow needs to be playing more than a drive. This team starts slow. And I saw a chat that says, it's Nick saying, Bengals start 0-2 in September. Do you fire Zach Taylor before week 3? Yeah, you do. An 0-2 start is unacceptable at this stage. You do not accept it. The Bengals, had they just won one of the first 2 or 3 games, they'd be in the playoffs. And beyond that, first off, they should have been in the playoffs. There were a number of calls, and I know it's easy for me to say as a Bengals fan, a number of calls that should have benefited the Bengals. It should have been a touchdown for Gesicki in week 1. Tanner Hudson fumbled. Joe Burrow fumbled for a touchdown. The pass interference call was lame. The repeatedly missed face masks. The only one that's really, really close that I felt okay about, the Washington game, because our defense couldn't get a stop. And we know what Jaden Daniels is now, sort of like CJ Stroud from last year. Momentum got the best of them in the Philly game, but you know what? That's a Super Bowl team. They got their asses kicked. That's it. Ah, man. Got their asses kicked. So, my God, I'm sitting here as I look at this, and it's just like, man, it's a season that really, really got lost, right? It really got lost, and that's so unfortunate. Because last year we were happy to salvage 9-8, right? We were over the moon to salvage it at 9-8. But not this year. Not this year. Nuh-uh. Man, I just look at that and I'm like, one of those could have went our way. Tim says, like my daughter says, special teams coaches win championships, but she wants to be a professional punter. Might be a little bit biased. Ryan Rico, you want to talk about a win this year? I'll tell you what makes me happy. I had him in the 7th round of a lot of my mock drafts last year because the Bengals badly needed a punter. And I knew that literally any punter was going to beat out Brad Robbins, even though his sister tough talked to me on Twitter. Yeah, I knew that was going to be the case. And Ryan Rico turned into one of the best punters in the NFL. Fortunately, they didn't need him a ton. But also, how bad was Austin McNamara that he didn't even get reps throughout there? And McLaughlin, the tight end who barely played all year. That's an interesting one. Robert says the D-line did better without Sam Hubbard, though. Osai and Cedric Johnson did well filling in. They did. They absolutely did. That's how bad Sam Hubbard was. Robert says, I think T isn't the priority in our eyes of the front office over Trey and Jamar Chase. And he shouldn't be. He shouldn't be, but there's no reason he can't get them all done. Robert Dillon says, Alex Kappa better not be on this team in 2 months is all I have to say. I completely agree. Now, Cordell Volson was also not good, but the difference is Cordell Volson is going to be playing on the last year of a rookie deal. Alex Kappa's making 10 milli? Yeah. I would rather them start Cody Ford than Alex Kappa. Again, you can draft somebody in the 5th round to do what Alex Kappa did. And there you go. $9 million saved right there. Interior O-line is a must. Yes, you got to shore up left guard, right guard, because Volson, as bad as he is, he's still gone after this year unless he comes back on a $1 million, $2 million deal, which isn't going to happen. Karras got his extension, so he's around a couple more years. Matt Lee is there, but I would really love Kevin Zeitler to come back on a 1-year deal, like a bridge thing. Jeff says, unrestricted free agents, Khalil Herbert, Travion Williams. Yeah, I think Travion's gone. I think Chris is gone. Tee Higgins might end up getting franchise tagged. Mike Gesicki is an interesting one because Joe keeps mentioning him with T, Jamar, Trey. And he was great last year. Home run free agent signing, but also you're not going to pay him $6-7 million a year. You can find somebody that does what he does. Trent Brown, gone. He was only here as an insurance policy for Mims anyway. Cody Ford, I could see them bringing him back. BJ Hill, that's going to be an interesting one. If they want to save money and move forward with Jenkins and Jackson and then sort of plug and play elsewhere, I mean, that could be 20 million off the book. BJ Hill is probably going to be one of those guys that people pretend is a lot more effective than he is. J2 Feely, he's a depth piece. Osai, oh my God, Osai is a guy who should have been getting more reps. And now by the time he could get them, okay, well, now he's gone. Von Bell, get out of here. Mike Hilton, I'd love to see him re-signed. Marco Wilson did all right. Joe, yeah, there's him. Akeem Davis-Gaither came up with some big plays as well. Cap cuts look to be Kappa, Hubbard, Moss, Rankins, to name a few. Oh boy, do they ever look to be them? Let's look at those. Let's look at those salaries right there, because that's some big money that is set to go out. And now, again, I don't know how it affects dead cap, all that BS we're about to talk about. I mean, Geno Stone's at $8 million. You bringing back Geno Stone for $8 million? I'm not. I love the way he played towards the end of the season. But, like, my God, man. The first, 3 months were real bad. And it's like, as soon as the weather got really cold, once the Dallas game happened, he was deflecting passes and he had interceptions in 3 straight games. He had a couple QB hits. He played better over the course of 3 games last year. It was Dallas, Tennessee, and Cleveland than he did throughout the 14 other games. But Geno Stone at almost $8 million, he's got to be a guy that you look at as a potential cut, because you can replace him for what he did much less expensive. Zach Moss, oh man, Zach Moss at 4.8, he's gone. I mean, his neck's messed up anyway. Evan McPherson, that contract was so stupid in retrospect, just so dumb. Sam Hubbard's at 11.5. If he comes back at anywhere near that, that is a mistake. Sheldon Rankins, I don't know if he's ever going to play football again based on this illness that we know nothing about. 11.6. We're talking about 23.1. Alex Kappa at 10 million, 30.3. 30.3. My God. That's upwards of just those 4 guys is 36 million. And if you cut Geno Stone, you're talking about 42 or 43. Listen, all of those guys, every single one of them, based on the production they provide you and what they can do at this stage, can be replaced with the bare minimum, because that's what they provided. Over 40 million. That is more than enough to give Trey Hendrickson a bump, sign Tee Higgins, and increase Jamar Chase along the way with the cap space. That's it. That's before getting creative with anything. These decisions are made for you. I'm baffled. And Robert says Geno is a guy I keep for depth purposes until the draft. Al Golden can bring in Xavier Watts from Notre Dame. I get that. I understand that. But I mean, 8 million. 8 million. Cam Taylor-Britt is very good. He has to work out consistency. So he had that unbelievable pick against Mahomes, right? And then Mahomes started to pick on him on these short routes. And every quarterback in the NFL started to pick on him. And Robert Dillon says he's our CB1. He shouldn't be our CB1. He should not be our CB1. Shouldn't be. He should be a CB2 or depth or something. He's not good enough to be a CB1. And he would tell you that, I think. I'd rather grab someone like Ertz at that age, because he was mentioning Hayden Hurst. Yeah, I wouldn't mind a veteran tight end as well. I've always said it. The Bengals tight end method is come prove yourself here, and make some more money elsewhere next year. But our players want to stay, and that's great. Now, we got the draft to talk about. And I am on board. Bengals need to cut Kappa, cut Hubbard or reduce his pay, cut Rankins, cut Moss. That's easy. Distribute that money amongst Trey Hendrickson, Jamar Chase, Tee Higgins. See if Burrow will restructure a little bit. And that is covered. Sheldon Rankins missed the last however long of the season. Sam Hubbard probably did more for us on an offensive end than a defensive end at that point. Also, fun stat, since like 2020, Sam Hubbard has scored more than Odell Beckham Jr., or as many times as Odell Beckham Jr. Pretty wild, right? Couple touchdowns and a safety. You have to draft an offensive guard. You have to, at least one. You need to draft a defensive end. You probably need to draft a tight end. But look at what Joe Burrow was able to do with Mike Gesicki, Tanner Hudson, Hayden Hurst. They've been able to make scrap heap tight ends work. It's just they don't always hit. Look at Irv Smith. But he made Tanner Hudson work. So I don't think you have to draft a tight end. Offensive guard is a must. Corner, safety, probably need those as well at this stage. Once you ran into those depth issues, it shouldn't be that much of an issue, but it is. Defensive end, you honestly could probably pick up an undrafted tight end. If you don't keep T, you're probably going to need to draft a receiver. I don't think you don't have to draft a center or a running back. You got a couple guys that do well there. I know a lot of people are always saying defensive tackle, a run stopper, ideally. I mean, if you can draft somebody high at defensive tackle and then make Jackson draft pick and Jenkins work, that could be beneficial. But like anybody saying, like, oh, draft a running back. You don't need to draft an RB2. You can pick up a RB2 all over the place. Look, you see him all the time. Was it Kareem Hunt came in and filled in off the couch? So like, and he's about to play in the damn Super Bowl. Kareem Hunt stepped up and scored, let's see, 7 touchdowns this year. Didn't play great, but RB2, whatever. Ted Karras is sturdy at center. I'm all for that. Not only that, I think he's on a pay decrease. Here's the interesting thing. Like, Trey Hendrickson actually makes less money this year than he was supposed to last year, which is interesting. Also, if the salary cap goes up $30 million again, which I highly doubt, that could be pretty interesting as well, right? I'm interested in what people think about the new coaching changes. One, I think the coaching changes needed to happen. Zach Taylor's claimed they're his choices, but I speculate completely that what I think probably happened was that they said, you got to make changes or you're going to change, right? Like, that's what I expect. Yeah, man, lots happened since that Ravens game. I didn't go to another Bengals game after that all season. Well, wait. Home game. They had the Pittsburgh game, sold those tickets. The Dallas game I did attend and got to see that incredible ending. I was not going to freeze my ass off against Cleveland. And then Denver, I was heading back from New York. And Couldn't make it, but I'm excited to watch the games from home next year. Excited to talk with you guys throughout this offseason and into next year. Listen, I'm not going to pretend I know a ton about football, but goddamn, I love football. Very excited to see what you guys think about the changes. Obviously, there's going to be some major signings or not signings this year. I'm excited to talk about it. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate you guys showing up for this show, especially on X. But hey, give me some love over on YouTube if you don't mind. If you don't mind. We're Common Bengals W. I'm out.